What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Lucid, more specifically the latest flyover. So let's get right to it. So there was this that was posted roughly a day ago, give or take. So hats off to the individual doing the flyovers. Very beneficial, I think, for Lucid investors. But surprisingly enough, you do see a lot of gravities. This is something that we've not seen in previous flyovers. So even just playing this as I kind of talk right here, you can kind of see just a lot more just gravities, which generally is a good thing. I think the real question though is, are these kind of on hold due to the supply chain, or are these kind of awaiting delivery? I think again that's kind of the real question when it comes down to analysts though. So looking right over here at the forecasted Q1, Q2, Q3 and also for 2025, you're seeing pretty much, I'm not going to go over each one so you can obviously see on your kind of pause it if necessary, but you see the low end, the high end, and then the consensus right here. So if you kind of add it all together, kind of do about 120, 100, 1,000 per vehicle, kind of on average, I'd say it works out to be around 15,000. So analysts do not believe that Lucid can hit the 20, which is, in my opinion, kind of crazy. So of course, just to give you a quick overview of that, so this is the handy dandy Excel doc. So you can kind of see for Q1 they did produce 2,212, they did deliver 3,109, getting rid of and kind of excess 897 for inventory. So pretty positive stuff. But again, going back over to the revenue, you're not really seeing that kind of optimism from analysts. So even more reason for the upcoming earnings, which is coming out in a week and a bit or 2 weeks. That's going to be a very big deal. Actually, kind of funny, when I saw this video, I saw this guy in the go-kart just absolutely ripping it right around there. Absolutely hilarious stuff. But nonetheless, getting back to it, so it's good to see that gravity is being tested and various things, but we need to know all of these. Are they on hold? What extent is the supply chain? Of course, we saw Nick, their response. I brought that up in my last video, how he said it was more of a short-term type of thing. So I think for their upcoming earnings, they really need to reassure investors and say, hey, this is the problem. We're being transparent and we plan on this being rectified by this. They could also kind of use, not as an excuse, but the whole tariff type of scenario as a valid excuse, which most likely is actually the culprit why they are kind of having this issue, because them rotating to try to get all the supply within the states, I think would be fairly advantageous to them, and that's what gave them a little bit more of an additional benefit. But let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. And so yeah, I think in general that's kind of the real question that we need to be aware of. So for those of you that have thoughts on this, do you think that these are kind of just awaiting some kind of other part? I think it's the ambient lighting or whatever else, which I don't see someone really accepting a gravity without that, because even though it's not that big of a deal, it doesn't really change all that much. I feel like if you're going to be spending that amount, like, you might as well just wait for it. I probably would just say, hey, I'm just going to wait for whatever X parts to come in just to get it done. But I don't know, I think that's kind of, like I said, the real question. That aside, hopefully Lucid isn't really just stalling full-on production just to avoid a excessive backlog of gravities. Hopefully they do continue to ramp up and everything. And actually, it's kind of funny how my mind thinks, even when they were doing the flyover, is just how the parking was at first, and then you can kind of see right over here, I'll just hit play, random just parking, whereas previously it was like nice straight cut. Is like clearly a shift change. This guy was just an absolute just craziness, but it's just how my mind works. And then obviously you get back to the straight arrow, just different styles of drivers. But nonetheless, enough of me ranting. Hopefully everyone's having a kick-ass Sunday and a good weekend. So let me know your viewpoint. It's good to see nonetheless though, a lot more gravities being shown. So yeah, It'll all come down to what they state during the upcoming earnings. And just to give you a quick overview, so this again is some estimates for the Q1, 2, 3, and 4, but specific to this right here. So on May the 6th, after hours, negative 23 cents for the earnings per share, 247.54 million in revenue over the last 90 days, 2 positive and 2 negative revisions. And then just to give you a little bit further, so that negative 23 cents, you have negative 32 on the low end, negative 18 on the high. Regardless, that negative 23 is a 22% year-over-year growth. And then that 247 is 43% year-over-year growth. 233 mil for the low end, 276 for the high. So like I said, it'll all come down to what Lucid gives for future guidance. And if they reassure investors and institutions, then potentially you could see that domino and this change. Because like I said, if you just do the basic math for 2025, analysts as a consensus do not believe Lucid is going to hit that 20. So let me know your general thoughts. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. One final thing, pop over to my Discord. It is completely free. A lot of good people talking about stocks, options, crypto, everything that you ever need in life. So with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.